Hello, everyone. We're live. Welcome once again to another fantastic virtual tasting with Becker Vineyards. I'm Rebecca Nelson, of course, the wine club director out at the winery. With us, of course, we have Dr. Richard Becker, our owner and proprietor. We also have John Leahy, our winemaker, who is joining us from an undisclosed location. And we have Bobby Totten, our assistant tasting room coordinator, with us tonight to try three fantastic library release wines. We were just kind of discussing these wines before going live, and we're all really excited about these, especially the first one we're starting with. So we've got our 2014 Tempranillo Reserve, we have the 2015 Cabernet Franc Reserve, and we have our 2015 Petite Sirah Reserve, which is actually an estate wine. So that one was all fruit from the Becker Vineyard. So we've got some great wines to taste through this evening. I will turn it over to you gentlemen to get us started. Cheers.
Cheers, Rebecca. Thank you for that introduction. And I don't want Jody to know where I'm at. I forgot to do the dishes. So shh, don't tell her. And at least you all think I'm lying. I really didn't do the dishes before I left, and now I had to leave the state in order to get out of this. So Doc, would you like to give us a few words of encouragement and introduction?
I'd like to have as much encouragement that, this is like 63 weeks that we've been doing these, our version of what happens in New York when people came out at 6 o'clock and tried to cheer one another up. And so there is reason to be, more optimistic. The great fear is that we have this new variant of the virus coming. We still have states where only 40% are vaccinated. This is not the way to get herd immunity. Just encouraging everyone who's not vaccinated, get the vaccine. It'll save your life. Anyway, and just to know how much we all appreciate, care about, think about the people fighting this battle at every level, medical, is teaching people, making our society work. There's a lot of courage. And anyway, hats off to everybody. And what a treat to taste these wines, troops. The first one I'm tasting is Tempranillo, and I think it's great.
I couldn't agree more. So for everybody out there, if you are joining us and you have the pack up, the 2014 Tempranillo, we were just talking right before we went live here on Facebook with y'all. I can't remember the last time I tasted that. I think it's been at least 2, if not more years since I've tasted the 14 Tempranillo. And when I opened it up an hour and 10 minutes ago now, it smelled fantastic. And it's opening up in the glass. I do not have the best glass because my panic room here in Kentucky is really not, oh, did I just give away my location?
Yeah.
Did.
Oh, man. No, I just don't have the best wine glasses tonight. But if you've poured a little bit of Tempranillo, it should open up pretty quickly. This is absolutely awesome. Bobby, you want to kick us off with your opinion of it?
Yes, sir. I would love to. Thank you. So this 14 Tempranillo is probably one of my favorite wines with, regards of being here, for the length of time that I've been here. This Tempranillo is just outstanding. So originally it had so much vanilla, had so much just bright fruit. The fruit is just still phenomenal in this wine. I mean, I'm still getting some plum characteristic, almost like a kind of earthy, dusty characteristic to it. Almost some fig. And that depth of like the coffee, a little bit of vanilla, some of that chocolate on the finish. Oh, it's just a phenomenal, great wine. Just outstanding wine.
Well, Rebecca, what do you think?
I 100% agree. Again, John, I had to try these, a couple weeks ago to make sure they were going to be okay. It's really difficult, but
I just want to know when you guys are going to include the winemaker in trying the wines for the broadcast.
You're busy making wine. We don't need to.
I was sitting in my office when you guys were out at the table.
Anyway, I was very surprised when we opened this, and pleasantly. It really has just aged beautifully. It's so smooth. And like Bobby was saying, you know, when we first had this, when it was new, the fruit was very, very prevalent, but it's still there. It's still very, very nice.
It really is.
There's a great plum note to this. There's, I agree with Bobby, that vanilla, a little bit of maybe some dried fig. I almost get maybe clove on there.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's some clove in there for sure.
It's still it's got so much depth to it still at this stage, and I really, really enjoy that. It's not, you know, all just muted completely, so there's nothing you can kind of pick up on. There's lots of lovely nuance still in this wine, and I think it's just fantastic.
So all of those little tiny flavors and smells that we say, we call them congers. They're the pieces and parts of the separation of the fatty acids, the alcohol, the lactones, the phenolics. You know, it's what happens when the hemicellulose breaks down in the barrel, when the lignin degradation happens during the toasting of the barrel. All of those play an important part in bringing those out of the wine. You know, but that's what makes smelling the wine so very important. And it's also about smell memory or scent memory that we each have that are individual. You know, I was talking to several folks about, you know, why am I not smelling what you smell? And I'm like, depends what you remember. If you've never smelled clove, you're not going to know what clove smells like, but you may call it cinnamon, you may call it just brown spice, or you know, something else that you remember smelling, and that's part of the whole influence. And I'm going to wax eloquent here in a few minutes about what the barrel gives to wine, but I want to get through the wines first.
Well, and John, the other part of that is that scent itself is going to smell a little bit different because it's in wine.
Yes.
And one of the things that we do when we get to do those sensory evaluations that you've done with the wine club in the past is, you know, you'll make one specific, you know, note really, really strong. And that makes it a little bit easier to then start learning to pick it out in other wines when there's other things in there. And so I think if you can do sensory evaluations and things like that, those are definitely really helpful if it's something that you're really interested in. And we're hoping to be able to do some of those later on this summer. So.
Oh yes. I'm actually kind of looking forward to the sensory eval at the end of this month. So I've been writing notes.
Oh no.
So Doc, what are you getting out of the Tempranillo, sir?
You know, it reminds me of just the great Tempranillos I've tasted in Spain. You know, both Julius Caesar and I were there tasting. Not at the same time, John. But
no, it's too late for that one.
And you know, the Cistercians left Pinot Noir cuttings in monasteries throughout Spain 1,000 years ago, and they came back, and there was Tempranillo. So I have had a chance to look at Jancis Robinson's wonderful book and see what the DNA profile shows about this grape. How much of it's, if any, is Pinot, and then there's Criollo from Argentina, and so the genetics are interesting to me. But you know, this one, when I opened this wine and I began smelling it and tasting it, it reminds me of the best Riojas I've tasted in Spain. It has that wonderful rich nose. It's just kind of I don't know if hardly any other wine. I don't think another wine has this particular profile. And what is it? It's is it clove? Is it brown sugar? Is it
the brown spice? Like when you open the cooking spice in your kitchen, the spice cabinet, and you just suddenly just all those brown spices. You know, there's still a little herbaceousness here to it, which really surprises me for the 2014 vintage. And it's very fresh. And I was looking at it earlier, the meniscus is still very, very well defined. The magenta to clear, it's not going over the top yet. So we've got a lot of potential here. The tannic structure is beautifully balanced. I think we have a whole lot. of potential with this wine still to age. Oh, yeah, no, you had it right there, Doc. Do that again. Look at the camera one more time.
That's not nice.
Yeah.
Hi, Margaret.
Margaret's in a rocking chair by the fireplace.
You look so elegant, especially by that obvious tone. Was that the Oxford English Dictionary?
It is.
You should get the condensed version.
Margaret, you're just going to have to learn that you just can't even be in the same room.
Margaret, I would like to say cheers to you.
So needs to be going.
I do think that there's a lot of spice going there. An awful lot of spice going on in this wine. So I'm very excited about it. That this has held up for so very long.
So, John, what would you say, just off the cuff? How many more years would you be willing to, let this sit?
Easy 10.
Yeah.
Easy 10. I don't think that. I think in 2032 this thing will be a powerhouse. It may be a little over the top by then, but I think it'll be a powerhouse of a wine still. So. Yeah, I don't think this will have a problem making another 10 years. And I mean, if you taste some of these brilliant Riojas from the late 80s and early 90s, yes, they're slightly brown on meniscus, but there's still fruit in them, and Texas has got such an outstanding potential. And every year there's more and more people proving that. Not just us. I hate to say that. I mean, we are the best, but but I mean, honestly, the fruit that is grown in the state is outstanding. And what scares me is that at some tipping point, people are going to discover that, and then they're going to want to plant another 100,000 acres of grapes, and then we're going to start losing this brilliant, beautifully, very focused idea of what Texas wine is. But it's a great fear to have, trust me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So any other comments on that? I am monitoring Facebook here because apparently I can do it from my phone. So far, nobody has any questions. I'm still expecting Gary to come up with a smart alecky thing to say. I'm waiting for it, Gary, just so you know.
Why are you taunting people, John?
I'm taunting everybody but Jody because but eventually I'm gonna have to pay the price. So now I'm gonna have to go home and do the dishes.
Here's those dishes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, you should have seen how I left the yard.
So, John, what vineyard did this Tempranillo come from?
Well, Bobby, I'm so glad you asked because Rachel, sorry,
the other R,
busy today, and I did not feel like I could impose upon her time, but I did my own notes. I know. I even put them on Post-its. So the Reserve Tempranillo is 53% Dusty Evans Tempranillo from the 2014 harvest. So Dusty was a grower of ours. It's just a gentleman, absolute, the epitome of what you think of Texas hospitality and courtesy. That is Mr. Evans. We also have 23% Farmhouse Tempranillo. We have 14% Bingham Tempranillo, and then we have 5% Becker Petite Sirah and 5% Becker Syrah in this. So 10% non-Tempranillo, 90% Tempranillo. And the blending notes that I went back through, I'm so very glad I keep blending notes because apparently my memory has turned to Swiss cheese. The 14 Tempranillo is what convinced us to do a 15 Petite Sirah, and that's gonna not the segue to the next wine, but that's in our lineup tonight. But we'll do that last. But because of this wine and the usage of our Petite Sirah on the 14 vintage as a blender, that's what really convinced me that we needed to do an estate Petite Sirah. So the 2015, we were able to do that. Anyway, I don't see any other questions. So shall we go on to the Cabernet Franc? Rebecca, I know you don't like it. And yes, that one right there. I think, Rebecca, would you like to lead off the Cabernet Franc discussion?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Just give me a minute.
Just give you a minute. Rebecca is a Cabernet Franc enthusiast, if no one knows it. It
smells so glorious. I just, I remember when we released this particular vintage of Cabernet Franc, and I was blown away by it back when it first came out, and it still is just magnificent. It has those herbaceous notes that I personally just love from a Cab Franc.
Yeah.
And it's got some raspberry notes on the nose there. It's just a really, really beautiful aromatic.
Don't let Margaret know we can see what she's doing.
And of course, she's like, I'm just gonna sit out in the hallway.
I know, right? She's like, that's it, I'm out of here. I have a feeling we're gonna pay the price for this.
I have a feeling. Yep. Well, I also have a feeling that Doc's gonna pay most of the price, so I'm not that worried.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm sorry, Rebecca.
No, you're fine. And it's just a beautifully smooth, velvety, that velvet that comes on the palate that I just love. And this one won, it's got like best wine in Texas, and gold medal and judges selection award for the best red wine in Texas at the 2018 Texom wine competition. So
that's right.
Yeah, I will take that award any day of the week. That's a pretty nice award to have.
Yeah, just a beautiful wine. I absolutely love this wine.
Yeah. I love Cabernet Franc all the way around. I have to agree with you, Rebecca. Cab Franc is such an awesome varietal.
Well, it's your fault.
Yeah.
That I found out that I loved Cabernet Franc.
Yeah. I wonder what happened to all the 2012.
Was there a 2012?
Yeah, there was.
I think there's like 3 bottles of it left in the library. It's fine.
Yeah, I have 1 bottle left at home. Doc, what do you think of the Cabernet Franc?
Well, this is, I think this is maybe one of the best wines we've ever made. It's just intoxicating, aromatic, and complex flavors of pepper, tobacco, violets, blackcurrant, graphite, strawberry, all here. I mean, just wow. Is that possible? This is probably a native grape to the Loire Valley, transplanted around by a lot of people, and then moved, into Bordeaux. But this is a wonderful wine, John. Period.
True.
This is the wine that's one of the parents of Cabernet Sauvignon and also Merlot. Both are crosses with Cabernet Franc and either Sauvignon Blanc or a native grape in France. So it's beautiful, and it's because it's given rise to such wonderful other wines. It's also maybe it's among the very best blending grapes. It's like Grenache. It's like Petit Verdot. It's just wonderful.
Yeah, we used the 14. The 14. Well, we've used the 15 too, but we used the 12, the 14, and the 16 Cab Francs all in a lot of blends. We had to be very, very careful. I mean, we had a plethora of it in 2012, but in 2013, virtually nothing. In 2014, we used almost all of it in blends because the powerhouse that wine is. So the 2015 was the first vintage we had enough after 2012 to do another Cab Franc. So it's not something we're able to do every single year. And I kind of like that too. There are a few wines I love not being able to do every year because the years we do them, they're just such good wines that we're able to.
In my opinion, the reason this wine has won so many accolades is that the finish is incredible. So it's wonderful aromatic, wonderful richness, balance on the palate. But after you swallow, it stays for minutes.
Yes.
It's just, and it doesn't just fall off.
No,
it's just
not follow through. Yeah.
It goes on and on. Wonderful wine. Way to go.
Bobby, what would you like to add, sir?
Oh my gosh, what can I add? Seriously. I mean, the fruit is just still very prevalent, that beautiful raspberries, but right in there, I'm getting that vanilla on the nose, and then the tobacco right in there, like nice cigar box kind of characteristic. And then it's so right there on that palate, just the beautiful raspberries, the fruit, the almost that green bell pepper just kind of sneaks in there. The pyrazines kind of showcased a little bit in there, but then that dark chocolate, the tobacco, and it just kind of all it just stay, like Dr. Becker was saying, just stays there and lingers, and it just it's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh yes, it does. And it does. The finish goes on forever. So one of the things that that really strikes me when you talk about pyrazines, so the maturity of the pyrazine and the maturity of the hexenes, that the furfurols in the wine, and for those of you who are not following along, and I apologize, the furfurols, like the one of the, probably the one that we're most familiar with is 5-hydroxyl furfurol. That comes across as either creme brulee, butterscotch, or caramel. When you hear those descriptors, then it blends into the deeper notes of chocolate and coffee. You're starting to get away from those creamier edges and into the darker edges of the pyrazine. So, you know, these are beautiful expressions of what happens in the grape, and that's all from the grape. That is not from the barrel. I'm going to take a minute here to explain to you. So I was writing notes as we were talking about this because I wanted to share this with people, and I apologize. I'm going to try to hold this up so that you can see the notes that I was writing up here. So Rebecca or Bobby, is that clear?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah, that's actually pretty clear.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the chart I do on my barrels when I'm selecting my barrels. So I wanted to show you this. So when we start here, we're talking about temperature and time on the toast of a barrel. So we can't go above 550 degrees on a barrel because wood lights on fire at 550 degrees. And that kind of defeats the purpose of having a barrel. And then the toasting time, about anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours, depending on the type of toast. I just put it out at its maximum. So the XY axis here. And I don't expect you to read my notes, but if you start down low, all of these, the tannin destruction happens early on. The tannins in the wood, they're destroyed early on, okay? And then we come up here to the Hexacellios breakdown is the next thing. So Hexacellios and lignans are primary characteristics of the fiber in oak, okay? That's when that starts to break down, and that starts to release some very important flavor components. But more importantly, it allows the wine to start penetrating into that cracked wood. So it's on the very surface of that. And I apologize, I did not travel here with sections of toasted barrel. Though where I was today, they had lots of barrels, and they did not let me take any sections of toasted barrel, no matter how many times I tried to steal one.
It just sounds like you're very unprepared. You don't have sections of toasted barrel. You don't have the right glassware. I don't even know what you're doing.
He has to be in Waco.
I'm running away from domestic chores. The next thing that we have in the toast, when you start to get up to a few hundred degrees and over a length of about 30, 40 minutes, you start to have the lignification degradation. The lignans start to degrade in the barrel, in the wood. But at that point, you got lactone formation. So lactones are very important too. Those start to offer some of those interesting flavors, the lactone flavors that we start to see going from herbaceousness to darker woody edges. Then you get vanillin. At the higher temperatures, you start to get the vanillin formation. And in American oak, this is where it's very important for a long toast on American oak, because that's where the vanillins start to create the lactone. Think of that as more like coconut, and then vanillin vanilla formation. Then at a point of the height of the toast is where we get the phenol smoke, what we know as toasted or smoke. That happens there. Right before the lactone is destroyed is where you get the smokiness. So you get this balance of vanilla, kind of coconut, coffee, then smoke, and then everything starts to drop off. And that's when you know that you need to stop the toast. So, and it's very important. And the other thing that that carbon layer does on the inside of that wood is it offers a very broad surface. So inside the barrel, I've got about several hundred yards of surface area for that wine almost of carbon filtration, which takes away some of the off flavors or characteristics that we may have left over from an imperfect fermentation where you get your acetones, like, think nail polish remover, or your butyls, the type of alcohol that's created at a higher temperature that smells more like lighter fluid, almost edged, or it adds to that banana-esque edge. I'm talking about things that are not necessarily faults, but things that you don't want in high quantities. And this is one of the very important things about barrel aging and wine that barrel offers to the wine. It's not just flavoring the wine. The wine's flavor comes from the grape skin. The barrel offers an assimilation of tannins. It offers a mellowness. It smooths the rough edges out. Plus, it gives us oxygenation without oxidizing. So oxygenation is important, where oxidation is one thing we want to avoid. You don't want to oxidize the wine, but you want to oxygenate it. So if you look at a barrel stave and the thickness, about 22 to 27 millimeters thick, that allows oxygen to permeate slowly. So in the life of the barrel, 22% of the oxygen that gets into the barrel comes through the wood. The other 60 or 78% of the oxygen comes between the staves or from the bung itself. So in the lifetime of the barrel, the 3 years that wine sits in the barrel, that's where the oxygen's coming from. Knowing that's why I choose barrels that have fewer staves, so there's less oxygen, or barrels with more staves to allow more oxygen, depending on what we're going to do with the barrel, on what program we're going to use. Cab Franc, I want a little more oxygen on there, because I want those formations of those pyrazines. I want them to develop. I want them to grow. And when you pick this glass up, you smell it and you taste it, and you taste those beautiful dark notes. Part of that is how we oxygenate, but not oxidize the wine. Is that geeky enough?
That was great.
That's lovely.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I could listen probably another hour.
Oh no.
Jody says your choice are still waiting.
I just saw that. She's watching. Yeah. So I just wanted, people had asked about barrels in the past, and I've been a little reticent about talking about it. And so I thought, well, this will be perfect, because that Cab Franc, what a great thing, because we kept that Cab Franc in barrel for a long time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Where were these Cab Franc grapes from? Which vineyards? So
the Cab Franc, about 80% of it was split between the Bingham and the Farmhouse vineyards. So in 2015, we were getting, we got it all under the auspice of Bingham and Seton, or Farmhouse, from the Seton family. So Nick, and of course his partner Anthony Ferguson. So Nick Seton, Anthony Ferguson are the farming partnership of Farmhouse Vineyards. And then 12% of the blend was Merlot, and that came from Reddy with just a touch from Jet Wilmoth. And then the 8% was Petit Verdot from Drew Talent. So, okay. Yeah. So that's the blend on the Cabernet Franc. And here again, when we talk about blends and people are like, oh, it says Cab Franc, why isn't it 100% Cab Franc? I know I'm borrowing trouble, but this tastes like Cab Franc. That Merlot and that Petit Verdot offered the support on the palate, the accent of what Cab Franc wanted to show. So that's part of what blending is bringing forward that varietal and bringing forward that idea of what I thought Cab Franc should be. And as it turned out, I may not have been wrong on this one, which I'm hoping to not be wrong on a few more. So
someone is wanting to know how the current vintage of Cabernet Franc is shaping up. So that would be the 2020.
The current vintage Cabernet Franc is shaping up quite well. It is still in the ugly duckling phase. It is a young, gawky teenage wine. So it's very young. We still have a couple more years on it, and we won't make any value judgments on that wine for a couple more years. But,
John, my ducks here would like to refer to that as the ugly winemaker phase. And
wow.
That was good. Well done, Doug.
Joe, if you can hear us, come help. Exactly, the ugly winemaker phase of the wine. Apologies to the ducks. Yeah, so are we getting any, I can't see if we've gotten any questions about that.
There was one for Bobby, just wanting to know, you know, typically, I'm paraphrasing here and adding a little bit of my own to this, but Cabernet Franc is one that maybe not everybody is as familiar with. So how often do you get people in the tasting room that just kind of are blown away by Cabernet Franc, or do you kind of have to push people to try it, or how does that work?
So, I mean, it's kind of like I mean, when people hear Cabernet Franc, they're not used to seeing a lot of Cabernet Franc because typically it is blended, blending grape, Bordeaux, all that stuff. So when they see it, they're like, what is this? So kind of giving them the rundown of it being the parent varietal of Cabernet Sauvignon, because everybody knows Cabernet Sauvignon. That's kind of like, across the board, standard varietal that, people go to. It's like, well, it originates with Cabernet Franc and Sauvignon Blanc. And, that's where Cabernet Sauvignon comes from. But Cabernet Franc, it shows a little bit more, depth to it, a little bit more body. I mean, it can, be, one of those big powerhouse varietals, as John was mentioning. But then when people come in and they try it, they're blown away, and they're astounded by how well the flavor profiles, that they're like, oh yeah, it has the best of Cabernet Sauvignon and a little bit more. But then also other people, on the other hand, when they see Cabernet Franc, they look for it. When they find it, they're like, oh my gosh, you never see Cab Franc as a standalone varietal in a wine. And then when they taste it, they're blown away. They're like, wow, Texas can do a Cabernet Franc like this. This is great.
Oh yes, we can.
I believe that one of the banners behind you, Bobby, is the one for this wine. That one is literally a banner of the 2015 Cabernet Franc, right? Awarded Best Texas Red Wine. Yep.
Right there.
There it is.
There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with a little selfish self-promotion. We all come together and make a great wine. We should all brag about it.
True.
Yeah.
Here.
Absolutely. Oh, I'm absolutely, Rebecca, I'm going to be in your corner on this one. Cab Franc all the way.
Yep.
Okay, so just a reminder, y'all are going to have to come up with some foods for these wines. So, no, duck, no. The ducks are already mad, Rebecca.
You don't want to hear about me eating duck?
Yeah, right.
Angry.
Okay, shall we move on to the piece de la resistance? Or as I like to say, Petite Sirah?
Goes hand in hand.
Oh, exactly. Oh. Okay, if you're joining us and you have Petite Sirah, please give it a swirl, sniff, and a taste. Oh. Oddly enough, I think the Cab Franc may have overpowered the Petite Sirah on my first sip, which really kind of blows me out of the water.
We talk about dark chocolate, but here is dark chocolate. And
right.
Espresso and herbal notes and black pepper and smoke, just amazing.
Yeah,
I love it.
I'm really getting that smoke on this that you mentioned.
The parentage of this wine is interesting. It was made at a cross in a greenhouse by a botanist, Francois Durif in 1860. Yep. And many places in Europe and France, it's not called Petite Sirah, it's called Durif, but a cross between Syrah and Pélisson, a native grape. And but it's an amazing invention by this man.
I'm surprised by some of the delicate notes I'm still getting off of this, John.
You know, I have to agree with you, Rebecca. There really is some pretty delicate floral notes.
Yeah.
Edges to this. It's not just all cellar-esque.
It's really nice.
You know, so for those of you who may not know, so this Petite Sirah comes from our front vineyard right there at Becker Estate. So when you pull into our gate, it's the first 50 rows of vines as you drive down the driveway towards the winery. And this has been one of my perennial favorites to deal with for the last 10 years at the winery. From the day I drove into that winery for the first time until today, that Petite Sirah is my favorite.
Yeah.
And
the Petite Sirah, sorry, John.
No, I was going to say, and yes, I'm allowed to have a favorite grape varietal.
Are the Petite Sirah, I'm trying to think, the clusters on the Petite Sirah, are those super tight, or are those a little bit kind of bigger and hang a little bit more?
Yeah, no, they're super tight. Unlike Sangiovese, they're real grape clusters. The Sangio's got a very long cluster, and the Petite Sirah is about half that size. And if you go out to the wine club block, it's really great. When you walk down that one row that on the left side is Sangiovese, on the right side is Petite Sirah, in the wine club block, you could just the world. It's like, what's wrong with these grapes? They're so small. And I was like, yeah, no, they're the right size, just like the Sangio's the right size. Sangio's got wings, Petite Sirah does not. So Sangio will also do this really interesting little hourglass bubble in the middle of it sometimes, where Petite Sirah tends to shorten the cluster up and just kind of almost appear to be a ball.
It's like a fist.
Yeah, the problem
like wraps around.
Yeah, the problem there in our humidity of this spring, we have to really watch out for cluster or bunch rot and sour rot in there this year. So we're really on guard for that because they're so tight that if you get any damage in there, if you get grape moth and it goes in between the grapes, or you get any kind of hail damage or whatever, you can have a potential of furtherance the issue of sour rot, which is the sugars, especially after veraison. If the sugars start ripening, then the VA will move in. The alcohol from the native yeast will start on one little grape. And that's just enough to get the VA to go, and you can smell it. It smells like vinegar if you start having a problem. So we're prepared for that because of the humidity, but we're hoping we don't have it, of course. But you know, there are ways to dry that up quickly, but that's part of the important thing about going out at this point in time, going out several times a week and walking that vineyard, is to keep track of those problems before they become problems. And that's why people say wine is made in the vineyard, and they're not wrong. That's where you start making the wine, is right now in the vineyard. But this Petite Sirah is brilliant.
It really is.
So Doc, what do you think?
I love it. But I'm under the spell of all three of these. I mean, just wonderful. I've told the story before. I'm going to tell it again. But before we hired John, we had several applicants. One was a French winemaker who turned in the gate, passed the Petite Sirah, took a look at him. The first thing he said to me when he arrived at the winery is, if I don't tell you anything else, I want to tell you should pull out Petite Sirah, because you cannot make wine from Petite Sirah that's of any value. And I said, really? And here it is. So.
Yes.
So Bobby, what do you think? I don't know what Rebecca's laughing at.
I feel like you can make wine from any grape.
So Bobby, what do you think of the Petite?
It's just, I mean, definitely those floral notes, the violet, and then like the fruit is still there, blueberries. I'm getting that kind of blueberry kind of characteristic. Still get that dark chocolate espresso, just that chewiness. I mean, you can chew on this wine.
That's well said. Yeah.
Also, what I've noticed that sometimes that early on, I would get like almost like a puppy's breath, like I don't know, like the smell of puppy's breath.
Gone a little bit off kilter there, Bobby.
I don't know. I'm seeing a new label. Puppy's breath wine. Comes with a free milk bone.
That's right. But I don't know. It's just it kind of reminds me of like when a young puppy, like, you know, its breath is, you know, it's got that, I don't know.
That's where your memory and your smell go hand in hand. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
for someone to have that.
Petite Sirah does have
so much work.
Yeah. You know, it really does. Petite Sirah does have a bit of meatiness, almost, you know, beef or bacon edge to it on occasion. So, yeah.
This is one of those wines, you know, it's so deep and dark purple. It's definitely one of those that after you've had a glass, your mouth is probably purple and people get very concerned. And I say, you know what, that's just how I spot my people. You know?
That's how you spot your people.
Yes.
Nice.
Is your mouth stained purple from wine? Hey!
Hey, friend.
Let's grab a glass.
Exactly.
My dentist loves it when I come in for cleanings.
Right, the acid on the enamel. I bet he does. Because you and I have the same dentist.
Most of us at the winery do.
Yeah, we go to the same dentist, which makes it like, oh, I guess we're in trouble now. So I want to ask, so we've had these three wines. So anybody, just general question to the panel. Any one of these wines stand out more for a good or maybe not good reason, but does it stand out more to you than any other? And then two, what was the biggest surprise of these three wines for the evening?
Who would you like to start, John?
Anyone, jump in.
I'll start. I think the Cabernet Franc stands out, and it's you know, Petrus-like. I mean, it's just extraordinary. And I'm okay, but the others are wonderful, but that wine is something special.
Anybody else?
So for me, I love Cabernet Franc, and we all know I particularly love our Cabernet Franc. So I wasn't as surprised. I agree, it's the standout for me. But the one that surprised me the most was the Tempranillo Reserve. I was surprised at how beautifully that has aged. Right
on, Bobby.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, because I mean, with the Petite Sirah, it's got that tannin structure. It's got that, you know, it can hold on for so long. And then that Cab Franc, I mean, it's just, I mean, still, that'll go on for another at least 10 years as well. Like, I mean, as we're mentioning, but yeah, that Tempranillo, I mean, how well and delicate it still is, and all the fruit components and everything, the structure is just still there. I think that's a shocking and surprising wine that's doing so well.
So I just want to ask if you all are happy with this, is it okay if I go get some bourbon barrel duck fat fries?
I hate you right now.
Why?
Just hurtful.
Right in here.
You know, I do have to reference back. I love the Cab Franc, but I think for me, I was the most surprised about the Tempranillo, and how it held up. Not having tasted it for at least 2 years, I'm sure it's probably been longer than that, but at least 2 years, because I don't have any recent notes on it, and that really surprised me. But that Cab Franc, I'm kind of happy we had 3 powerhouse wines tonight. I was very happy. Rebecca, thank you for choosing these.
Yeah, Brett and I, our meetings tend to go so much better.
Here and you choose wine.
We're picking the wines for the virtual tastings.
Right.
Brett and I actually tend to have the same take on things when we're doing that, so it goes really well.
Right on. So, okay, food time, guys. I'm going to start with Doc. So, you want to pick a dish and a wine, Doc?
I think with the Cabernet Franc, I want to have any one of the great fridge dishes. chicken cooked in wine, either Burgundy or some coq au vin, a great coq au vin. But this wine would be just, and that was the really first great French meal and wine combination I ever had. It wasn't Cabernet Franc, it was a Bordeaux, a red Bordeaux, Gravs, but in a great French restaurant. It was just amazing.
I wonder if we could get Chef Michael to do coq au vin again, because he hasn't done it in like a year.
I know it. Work on that. That's a good idea.
I think we should tell him that you requested it and he has no choice but to have it ready on Saturday.
Sounds good. I want him to cook it for 2 weeks and just heat it up and cool it down and heat it up. Cool it down. Very slowly.
I think we could get him on that.
With our barrel staves.
So, Bobby, what do you think? Dish and wine?
Oh my goodness. My goodness. Dish and wine.
Yeah, one wine, one dish. Don't worry, I already chose French fries.
Yeah, right. I'm gonna have to go the Tempranillo, and maybe a beef stroganoff with the Tempranillo.
Okay.
All right.
That sounds good to me. Actually, it sounds really good. So, Rebecca, what do you think?
So I haven't had dinner yet, so I'm really hungry. So I have food for each one. So the Tempranillo, I want pulled pork with the Tempranillo.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be delicious. And I always think my Cab Franc pairs beautifully with roasted duck or a Peking duck. All of those would be wonderful. Shut up, John. And the Petite Sirah, I'm going to throw a weird one in there. I kind of think maybe this would be good with like I've been watching a lot of Chopped, so I'm just going to put that out there.
Right on.
A mole sauce. Like a.
Oh, you're not wrong. You are not wrong. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. You know, oddly enough, and this is going to be very weird, I've had our Petite Sirah with raspberry ice cream.
Really?
Yes. Huh. Yeah. I don't care if anybody makes fun of me on that one. It was really good. I would like to go to the Tempranillo and have, I think ham croquettes and fried sardines.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. I also think it would probably be really good with something like a shepherd's pie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially if you can get in there. Yeah, a little lamb. Apparently my tasting notes from that era.
All of our wines pair well with lamb, I hear.
Yes, I like lamb.
That's what I read.
Whites and reds, all of them. Lamb.
I'm just saying that those wines that we make pair well with lamb.
John, I want to say that when I first smelled this wine, the Tempranillo, and tasted it, my mind was back 15 years ago. We were in Spain on a Sunday morning. It was cold, raining, and we read about this wonderful restaurant that was open on Sunday in a little town in the Ribera del Duero. Couldn't, no signs, nobody to talk to, nobody walking around in the cold rain. Then I thought I'd found it. I went up, I opened the door. No notice it was a restaurant, and inside were 50 people, and there was a big brazier going, and they were cooking cabrito and vegetables. And the aromatic from that, Bobby, was a stopper. And I asked if we could come in. They said, "You bet." So we did. We joined them, and we were there for the next several hours. It was just wonderful.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was great. But that's what I want to pair with this. I want to be back there.
Yeah.
Wine pairs very well with good memories.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is. Yeah.
It absolutely does. Okay, Rebecca, what do we have online for next week?
Next week, we have the running of the bulls. we have our three. We have 3 Malbecs, and so the labels, of course, are all the Longhorn. So Brett actually, we were picking the wines, and Brett goes, "It's like the running into the bulls," and I said, "I'm using that."
Right.
So it's the 2009 Malbec, the 2012 Malbec, and our current, the 2017 Malbec, all Malbec reserves. So those are going to be great.
Oh, next week's going to be a joy. So any news from the winery, Bobby? Anything you'd like to update everybody on?
Still doing reservations, taking walk-ins, accommodating as best as we possibly can to have everybody have a great experience out here at Becker Vineyards. We love seeing everybody's beautiful smiling faces, and so just come on out. We'll take care of you.
Fantastic. So Rebecca, when are we going to start Fridays with the Winemaker for our hour-long Q&As out on the patio?
Hour?
Okay.
An hour long with you?
I know. There's only 2 people in this world that can stand an hour with me.
I don't know that we'll have many signups for that, John.
I'll be there.
Oh, great. Now I'm getting fired. Okay, so next week, we've got a lot of stuff in the works. We're really excited to get a whole lot of stuff going. So my biggest thing that I can tell people is watch your emails. Yes.
Because that's when you find out when we've got something coming. So definitely watch your emails.
Well, I think this week also, if you have Wine Club Block, Rebecca and I are due to make another video on the updates. So watch your emails for that. We'll be out there walking the vines to show you some pretty exciting things that are going on in the vineyard. We're very, very happy with the way the crop is looking this year. I'm extremely excited after being up in the high plains last week and looking at everything. So we'll give you an update there. So any other news, Doc, Rebecca, anything else to add?
No, but I just keep your heads down, folks. Let's get away from this pandemic and
absolutely
do what you do.
I'll raise a glass to that. So here's to your health, great wine, and thank you all for allowing us in your homes for an hour. We'll see you next week. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.